Alright. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam, Namo Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, dan salam kebajikan. Good morning and welcome to the Go Smart Series event with theme International Collaboration for the Quality of Life Development, Smarter World Living Lab. First of all, let's bring us our praise to the Almighty God for His blessing and guidance so that we can get here to attend today's event. My name is Muhammad Ajin, and I'm currently a second year student at the Mulor University, and I will be your host and moderator for today's event. And digital transformation has now speed into almost every area, such as finance, economy, transportation, infrastructure, health, and education. In this case, digital transformation requires a new landscape of cooperation between the countries and all stakeholders to secure their prosperity, including in the economic flow in the digital era. We're proud that we're having a discussion regarding STEM and digital transformation to can contribute to the global economic growth and including the developing countries. And we're going to be directly moving on to playing the national anthem of Indonesia Raya first. So the national anthem of Indonesia Raya, the committee, you may have to play.
Indonesia tanah airku, tanah tumpah darahku. Di sanalah aku berdiri, jadi pandu ibuku. Indonesia kebangsaanku, bangsa dan tanah airku. Marilah kita bersatu, Indonesia bersatu. Hiduplah tanahku, hiduplah negeriku, bangsaku, rakyatku semuanya. Bangunlah jiwanya, bangunlah badannya, untuk Indonesia Raya. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, tanahku, negeriku yang kucinta. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, hiduplah Indonesia Raya. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, tanahku, negeriku yang kucinta. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, hiduplah Indonesia Raya.
Alright. We'll be moving on to the next session, but before we start, let me explain today's rundown. First, we're going to be directly to the opening by MC, National Anthem Indonesia Raya, and opening remarks by notable speakers, and we will be moving on to the presentations, and the question and answer session, and the closing statement and the photo session. And we probably brief we're going to be accepting opening remarks by the Professor Sukarno Harso Supangkat as the head of the Smart City and Community Innovation Center Institute Teknologi Bandung. For the Professor Sukarno Harso Supangkat, the opening remarks, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Adrin. Good morning. Ohayo gozaimasu. Selamat pagi. So, my senior, that is His Excellency Engineer Heri Ahmadi, as an Indonesian Ambassador of Japan, and His Excellency Rosan Prakasa Ruslani, Indonesian Ambassador to the United States, will come with the video, and also His Excellency Surya Pratomo, Indonesian Ambassador to Singapore, is come with the video, and also all the speaker. My friend Gram Saktaib is a President Director of the PT Gobel Indonesia, and Dr. Ambu Moshi Vekajatan from area, Professor Toshio Obi from Waseda University, and my professional from IEEE Smart City Web Forum, Joel Myers, and also my colleagues from Bandung Institute of Technology, Adiwan Fahlan Aritenang, and also my colleague also from Sinar Masland, Mr. Irfan Jasni, CEO of Technology Advisory and Business in Masland, and also distinguished participant in this webinar of TT20 Indonesia. Yes, thank you for your coming in a virtually. This event is conjunction between GoSmart 2020 and T20 as one of the event of the G20 that Indonesia as a presidency this year. GoSmart is annually meeting from the Indonesian side. Annually, previously is a national effort to becoming smarter of Indonesia. Smarter in a city, smarter in municipalities, smarter in mobility, etc., etc. However, start from this year, in conjunction with Indonesia as a presidency in G20, we extend becoming smarter the world. Our activities becoming more expand in the world. And in this year, Bandung Institute of Technology, especially of Smart City and Community Innovation Center, as a host institution for Think 20, as one of a formal engagement of G20 in focus in policy brief development. However, in the side event, we also extend the activity in how more concrete activities in digitalization. Digitalization in Indonesian presidency as a catalyst for all recovery, economic recovery, climate change challenge, and also in health architecture. Digitalization is one of the important. For example, in COVID-19, in Indonesia, we have Peduli Lindungi and how to get the data of every people in the positive, negative, or as a vaccine, etc. And in T20, especially in Task Force 2, where Bandung Institute House Institution, we're focusing in 9 policies area. In the first is digitalization, digital divide. Digital divide can be divided into infrastructure, adoption, deployment, and related. And the other hand, also digitalization and smartization is not so easy to get the data from no data becoming digital data, from manual data to digital data. This is one of the important in digitalization. In Indonesia, is a pendigitalan. And then after digitalization with the pencerdasan or smartization, not only digital technology, but also in culture, also in process, also in governance. So digitalization and smartization is very important to considering in our recovery. And also in artificial intelligence and ethics is one also our consideration. In another, in data flow and security, digital literacy. And the 9th of policy area, we consider international collaboration. 6 months, we discuss about what kind of the international collaboration. In related with the recovery, stronger recovery together, we also add with the recovery stronger, recovery together, and smarter. Smarter the world is one of our tagline or in our objective, how to shaping the world, becoming better quality of life. Better quality of life, not only in a economic, but also in a technology point of view, and also in governance, digital literacy. So in this session, in this webinar, we are discuss about how we can collaborate its city, its municipality, its country, becoming the quality of life better and better. And there are several papers in a policy brief that we submitted by authors in the world. We have received 116 papers about the digitalization. And one of that in regard in the international collaboration. We propose Smarter World Living Lab as our international collaboration between city and city, village and village, and maritime. Indonesia, for third, is maritime. So how to shaping also maritime living lab. And also we also invite Jules Meyer as one of our professional in Internet of Things and Smart City in IEEE to talk together international collaboration in regard how to improve the quality of life. And of course, we are also considering how to make collaboration. We invite Indonesian ambassador in United States, Indonesian ambassador in Japan, and also in Singapore to give address with our challenge and issue. Thank you for all the authors and also keynotes, both in a virtually or in a video capturing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Suharno Harsusepangkat, for the opening decision. And we'll be moving on to the next opening remarks by the notable speakers. We would like to welcome Ms. Rosan Perkasa Roslani as the Indonesian ambassador to the United States. For the Ms. Rosan, the floor is yours.
Good morning, His Excellency Bapak Heri Ahmadi, Ambassador of Indonesia to Japan, His Excellency Bapak Suryo Pratomo, Ambassador of Indonesia to Singapore, Professor Suharno Harsusepangkat, Lead Co-Chair of Task Force 20, distinguished speakers, moderators, and participants. First of all, I would like to thank Professor Suharno, the organizer, for inviting me to this event. I'm honored and delighted to meet all of you. Today's themes, international collaboration for quality of life, development, smarter world, living lab, illustrate today's world conditions, where international collaboration and multilateralism are keys to find solutions for the highly complex, multidimensional global problem we are facing today. Through various global and multilateral forums, Indonesia and other countries continues to strive to contribute in addressing complicated global challenges such as unpredictable course of COVID-19 pandemic, global supply chain disruption, climate change, energy and food crisis, and Russia-Ukraine war. This year, Indonesia is interested to hold the presidency of the G20 with the theme of Recover Together, Recover Stronger for the G20 presidency. Indonesia aims for a global and inclusive recovery and a sustainable future. There are three priority sectors of Indonesia presidency in G20, global health architecture, digital transformation, and sustainable energy transition. Through the three priorities, Indonesia put effort to ensure equitable access to COVID-19 vaccines, achieve common prosperity in digital age, and accelerate the transition toward cleaner energy resources. Our presidency in the G20 also aims to produce concrete deliverables that can give direct benefit for the people. We also facilitate direct operation between private sectors, companies, academic and research institutions, and philanthropies to contribute to the global economic recovery. I will elaborate more on these three priorities. First, health sector resilience is a must. Global communities are overcoming the COVID-19 pandemic altogether. New initiatives emerge, primarily focusing on building a more robust international health architecture to protect future generations. Having learned from the current experiences and possible future pandemic, clearly no single government or multilateral agencies can address the threat alone. To tackle this issue, Indonesia is working together with other countries in various multilateral forums, among others WHO, G20, and Gavi, to develop global health protocols, to develop new mechanisms to mobilize and secure global health resources, including financing, and to enforce global health resilient architecture through the strengthening of WHO and establishment of a new pandemic treaty that would provide the much-needed direction, accountability, and high-level political commitment from member states. Second, we must transition to a greener economy. Indonesia promotes sustainable, inclusive, and environmentally friendly investment. Therefore, we continue to support efforts to combat climate change and promote sustainable growth. Indonesia is committed to lead by example. The rate of deforestation has fallen to the lowest level in the past 20 years. Forest fires have been reduced by 85%. Indonesia is on track to realize its commitment to reduce emission. We are committed to achieve net zero emission by 2060 or sooner with international support. In updating its nationally determined contribution and realizing a net carbon future, Indonesia seeks international support in the form of innovative and realistic financing, technology, or know-how. Indonesia has a clear pathway toward green economy by setting a renewable energy target for electricity generation of 23% in 2025 and 31% by 2050. Indonesia is phasing out coal plants, including to put the plants on an early retirement. We will phase out 5.5 gigawatt before 2030, which need 8.58 billion investment support. Through major policies such as net zero emission target, coal-fired power plant moratorium, and a carbon price implementation set the positive tone for the energy transition in the years to come. Clean and renewable energies that will be built according to the plan are geothermal, hydropower, microhydro, and solar power, wind power, and biomass. In addition, Indonesia will move its capital from Jakarta on the island of Java to an area which is named Nusantara, or in English, Archipelago, in eastern part of Kalimantan Island. Nusantara will be known as a smart forest city, powered by clean energy and incorporating high technology to manage the city. In surrounding area, currently Indonesia is also building the largest green industrial park in the world in the North Kalimantan. Third, digital economy is the future. Digital transformation is also one of the priorities of Indonesia G20 presidency by focusing on connectivity and post-pandemic recovery, digital literacy, and data flows. The International Data Corporation forecasts that 65% of the global GDP will be digitized by the end of 2022. As the pandemic forces us to be adaptive, digital connectivity is becoming more important than ever. In 2021, Indonesia contributed 40% of the Southeast Asian region's total global merchandise value, e-commerce market value, at $70 billion. Indonesia strongly promotes not only the physical digital infrastructure, but also its digital infrastructure resilience and empowering aspect. Educating digital literacy to the public, especially to the micro, small, and medium enterprises, is a necessity to assist the public to adapt with the current economic situation, ensuring inclusive digital transition to drive growth, and it is part of a solution to speed up economic recovery. As you might have known, Indonesia has a lot of potential in digital economy. Indonesia has 1 decacorn and 10 unicorn. According to the Indonesian Association of E-commerce, in 2021, Indonesia e-commerce grew more than 50% year on year. Around 9.2 million Indonesia's SMEs have embraced digital platforms. Digital technologies serve as a lifeline for many Indonesian MSMEs during the pandemic. We seek the international support to strengthen digital infrastructure, promote Indonesia's growing digital economy, and position Indonesia as digital hub in the region. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, reiterating again that COVID-19 has created multifaceted challenges, not only on the health aspect, but also economic and social aspect. We must face this global uncertainty with synergy and collaboration. We must work together to overcome global problems created by COVID-19 pandemic to move toward new normal. We must address vaccination gap and global health protocol together. We must overcome container scarcity and other logistic chain problems. We must work together to keep the rising inflation under control. We must anticipate the food scarcity and the increase of food price. We must accelerate the transition process toward a sustainable economy. We must expedite digital transformation that is equal and affordable. Therefore, in accordance with the theme of Indonesia's G20 presidency, I would like to invite all relevant stakeholders, government, business, and academic sectors to support global recovery together. Let us recover together, recover stronger. Thank you.
Thank you for Ms. Rosan Perkasa Roslani for your speech, for amazing speech. We'll move on to the next opening remarks by Mr. Heri Ahmadi as the Indonesian Ambassador to Japan. For Mr. Heri, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, MC. My colleagues, Indonesian Ambassador, Pak Rosan Roslani dan Pak Suryo Pratomo, the host of the forum, Saibul Bait, my old friend, Professor Suhono, distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening for all participants across the globe. It is an honor for me to be invited as such important forum to deliver my thought on the how we can strengthen international collaboration in global recovery after the pandemic. The global impact of the pandemic should be a momentum for the global community to start holding hands together. Therefore, Indonesia, through the G20 Forum, encouraged global community to reshape global health architecture, digital transformation, and also sustainable energy transition, as previously already explained by Ambassador Rosan. These three pillars of the Indonesian G20 presidency need to be prioritized in the international collaboration. One of stakeholders that is closely related to the three pillars is urban communities and their cities. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as we know, one of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals for the 2030 is making cities and human settlement inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. Cities have been the center of economics, development, technological innovation, social progression, and enhancement of human capability. Urban planning, transport system, water, sanitation, waste management, disaster risk reduction, access to information, education, and capacity building are all relevant issues to be sustainable urban development. Thus, making cities sustainable and smart is one of our priority in our journey to achieve the 2030 Sustainable Agenda. The Smarter World Living Lab concept that is being developed by a researcher from the Smart City and Community Innovation Center of the Bandung Institute of Technology seem to be one of the solutions in the overcoming increasing complex urban problem. I recognize that the concept is interesting since a smart city, a living lab can be used as a space to bring together government, residents, and research institutions to collaboratively address urban problems that have emerged in recent years, such as traffic congestion, flooding, the need of the green environment. This concept involves broader stakeholders to solve the problem of the city as well as to develop the city sustainability. Ladies and gentlemen, information technology has brought us to the high level of connectivity. However, to some extent, it also has some negative impact, such as alienating people from their society. Therefore, maintaining people to connect and socialize each other is the most important factor of the smart and sustainable cities. This is why the UN Habitat launched its flagship program called People-Centered Smart Cities. This program ensures that deployment of technology and innovation is used to ensure sustainability, inclusivity, prosperity, and human rights in the cities. In Japan case, Japanese government is designing and defining what's so-called as Society 5.0 by incorporating innovation of the fourth industrial revolution, for example, Internet of Things, big data, artificial intelligence, robot, and the sharing economy into every industry and social life. By doing so, the society of the future will be one in which new values and services are created continuously, making people's lives more comfortable and sustainable. Moreover, Japanese Society 5.0 is conceptualized to achieve advanced emergence between cyberspace and physical space. This is what I would like to underline, that try to convergence between cyberspace and physical space, enabling artificial intelligence based on doing big data and robots to perform or support as an agent the works and adjustment that humans have done up to now. This free humans from everyday cumbersome works and tasks that they are not particularly good at, and through the creation of new values, it enables the provision of only those products and services that are needed to the people that need them at the time are needed. It optimizes the entire social and organizational system. Ladies and gentlemen, we can see the link between the works by SCCIC-ITB and the UN Habitat Flagship Program, as well as the concept of Society 5.0 being developed by the Japanese government. We will also find that other stakeholders are also developing similar concept and initiative. Hence, the international collaboration among the initiators and implementing actors need to be strengthened to ensure the achievement of one of the sustainable development goals. We have to make the most of the opportunities to cooperate either in bilateral or multilateral international fora. As the Indonesian ambassador in Tokyo, I have witnessed the strong relationship between Japan and Indonesia in smart and sustainable cities through city-to-city or province-to-province cooperation. Our cooperation has covered the development of the low-carbon smart cities through the provision of renewable energy. The cooperation, for example, the cooperation between Toyomas and Semarang City have converted some Semarang City buses into gas fuels buses, making 40% reduction of the carbon emission. The cooperation between Jakarta and Kawasaki cities are soon implementing the conversion of the Jakarta buses into EV cell fuel buses. The Japan-Indonesian cooperation also covered risk reduction, capacity building for smarter society, and other area of innovative collaboration. In the cooperation between Kuburaya and Nihama City is designed to develop forest city and also renewable energy in Kuburaya. These are the only examples of the international cooperation that can be replicated in other areas to make smarter world living lab concept work. With that, I conclude my speech. Thank you very much. Arigatou gozaimasu. Selamat siang. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Heri Ahmadi, for the
Very
remarks.
good. Terima kasih. Arigato.
We'll be moving on to the next speakers by Mr. Surya Pratama as the Indonesian ambassador to the Singapore. For the Mr. Surya Pratama, the floor is yours.
Speakers, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, greeting from Indonesian Embassy in Singapore. I would like to thank the committee of Go Smart 2022, Recover Together, Recover Stronger, for the opportunity to be one of the keynote speakers for today's event. When I received the invitation from T20, I feel delighted with the fact that under Indonesia Presidency in G20 2022, every stakeholder stepped up and showed their contribution to the G20 team. As an engagement group of G20, I believe that T20 will provide a reliable policy recommendation needed by the G20 government and leaders. At the current situation, after the pandemic, we must understand that we need everybody to play their role toward recovery. As we all know, we have been hit hard by the pandemic for the last 2 years. Pandemic not only brought new problems, but also highlighted the existing problems that we have, such as inequality, poverty, famine, global food scarcity, massive economic downturn, supply chain problems, political problems, and even environmental problems. We are currently at the situation where we have managed to pass that difficulty time, and now we have to think and act fast to bounce back, to recover, to be better. The pandemic offers us a unique opportunity to rebuild for a more resilient, inclusive, and sustainable recovery. Every sector and every aspect of life that has been greatly affected by the pandemic have to recover. However, the journey to recovery is not easy because the pandemic has also transformed many aspects in life. Pandemic has created so many changes and uncertainties. Before pandemic, whenever we need to brainstorm to solve problems, we physically meet and talk to each other. But now, mostly people meet virtually. Now we need to adapt with all these changes. We need to understand that even though we only see each other through screen, like what we are doing right now, but we are still capable of brainstorming and solving problems. Regardless whether these changes made people's life more difficult or easier, people still need time to adjust and adapt. So the road of recovery is difficult due to the global problem created by the pandemic and also all the changes that we are currently facing. Ladies and gentlemen, to make it possible for us to expedite the process of recovery, we need cooperation, collaboration, an orchestrated effort to recover together and recover stronger. And we need to do it at a global level. The pandemic has taught us some important lessons about the importance of collaboration, communication, and solidarity during crisis, especially on the road to achieve global recovery and stability. In a world where change is now sudden and constant, we have to focus on setting strategic direction to recover together. We can only achieve this strengthening the global community ability to convene and communicate to produce impactful results effectively. We have seen how powerful global collaboration is in time of crisis. In the eye of the pandemic storm, international cooperation was able to pave the way for a safe, effective, affordable, and equitable ways for countries around the world to obtain vaccine. Global collaboration means that we are put aside our differences to find common ground on matters that affected people life greatly. Countries can act together or act separately, but our best strategy is to stand together to face global crisis with solidarity. Colleague, G20 is a massive, powerful engine in which the current global problems can be addressed through collaborative effort between countries. In Indonesia G20 presidency this year, we have been very vocal with our strong commitment to produce joint concrete initiatives that the world needed to rise stronger. In his speech last year, President Joko Widodo stressed the importance of inclusiveness and togetherness as the keyword of Indonesian G20 presidency. We understand that we need to strengthen global solidarity in order to address global problems. And in his speech early this year, the President said again that no single country could recover alone. All countries are interconnected. No one is isolated. With international collaboration, we will be able to not only work together to address current global challenges, but we also work together to create a more resilient world to face future threats and probably future pandemic. Under Indonesia presidency, G20 focuses on three main priorities: global health architectures, digital-based transformation, and transition to more environmentally friendly and sustainable energy. With these three main priorities, we believe that we will be able to contribute greatly to the effort of solving the current global problem and challenges. I hope today's webinar will be able to produce recommendations on how digital transformation approach and solve real problems. We start small, we aim big, and we hope to be able to solve global problems. Let's recover together, recover stronger. Thank you.
Thank you for the opening remarks. Distinguished speakers and participants, we already successfully done with the opening remarks by the notable speakers, and we'll be moving on to the next presentation session by our six notable speakers. And just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions for either all the speakers or to the specific person during the session, please type them into the chat box, and we will answer the questions at the question and answer session after the discussion. To keep the quality of sound functional during the presentation, please mute yourself when you are not sharing. And the format for the typing question and answer is a name, origin of the agency, underscore institution, or speaker and questions. And we will move on and welcome to the Mr. Hiramsyah Stalip as President Director of the PT Global International. And regarding the presentation is all about the successful collaborative partnership to gain quality of life. With that being said, for the Mr. Hiramsyah, the floor is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Selamat pagi. Ohayo gozaimasu. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My sensei, Excellency Ambassador Sensei Heri Ahmadi, Excellency Ambassador Rosan Roslani, Excellency Ambassador Surya Pratomo, Mas Tommy, my best friend too. And then the co-chair and co-leader, my best friend, Professor Suhono, Head of Smart City and Community Innovation Center, Bandung Institute of Technology, all distinguished speakers and participants. Thank you for this morning webinar to attend this. As already mentioned by all the distinguished at the opening speech, I think that we are in the situations that It's a very interesting. We are hopefully just end of our COVID crisis, but hopefully not bad. We are just starting our global economy. What because problems may be, yeah. So let us start with some short presentations about some issues. Okay, that today, in line with the webinar, it's already mentioned about the successful collaborative partnerships to gain the quality of life. As we really know that we are as a humans that's really depend on each other, that nobody in this world, I think, is really independent. They can do everything by themselves, not even a humans, institutions, or country. So why that I think collaborative is a very important words and actions today that everybody need to be aware that we have to do what that we call it collaborative and collaborations with so many partners to set up a better environment and ecosystems. Next. Let us start with our topic in line with the G20 Indonesia presidencies for 2022. That tagline is very strong, and I think in line with our and global situations today, the recover together, recover stronger and smarter. Yeah, that this is our framework about the World Health Systems. Yeah, because of hopefully we are at the end of the COVID crisis, and then it's already mentioned by my sensei, Heri Ahmadi Excellency, and Excellency Ambassador Rosan, that energy transition is very, very important today. Especially we talk about the zero emissions, that we are not in a very good situation about our environment. Everybody talk about the energy transitions. Everybody talk about the zero emissions. Everybody talk and have a very tight targets to do and to reduce the zero emissions. And then last but not least, we talk about the economy and digital transformation. This is that I think our framework about how that inshallah we can do the recover together, recover stronger and smarter. The G20 presidencies carries this theme, the recover together, recover stronger. Through this theme, Indonesia invites the whole world to join forces to achieve a stronger and more sustainable recovery. This is that I think it's not easy because of sometimes somebody's persons, institutions, country, they're more focused where their interests. But I think the today's situation, we have to really understand that the situation is not good. Yeah, we have to recover not only together, but as already mentioned, how that we act fast. We can do some action, fast actions to recover as soon as possible from this situation. Not only from the health situations that has been damaged by the COVID pandemic, but we already talked about how that we can recover together and recover stronger from the economy's point of view too. And today's challenge is the digital transformation. That, as Professor Suhono mentions, that for some country we are still struggling how to transform from analog to the digital life. We talk about the data, yeah, not only all the big data is already transformed into the digitals, but still many, but sometimes mostly of the data still on the analog mode. Next one. This is, I think, what that we call it, the Sustainable Development Goals or SDG, that is very important too. Is our framework too. I think that the Sustainable Development Goals are a global action plan agreed upon by world leaders, including Indonesia. that we want to terminate the poverty, we want to decrease the inequality, and protect the environment. And the SDG includes 17 goals and 169 targets, which are imminent to be achieved by 2020. We can see here from number 1 to number 17, yeah, the no poverty, zero hunger, the good health and well-being. We hopefully will be the end of the pandemic COVID, but everybody already said that we have to be ready for the next endemic or pandemic maybe, and then we talk about the quality education, because already mentioned by my sensei that if we talk about the what that we call it, the transformation today, we talk about all the smart city, people first. So why that the quality education is very, very important, because of people first before we talk about the others smart things. And then gender equality, clean water and sanitations, affordables and clean energy, decent works and economic growth, industry, innovation and infrastructure, reduce inequality, sustainability cities and communities. Number 12 is responsible consumption and productions. Number 13 is the climate actions. I think that everybody already fully aware about these situations of global warming, etc. Life below water. This is that I think is very, very important for Indonesia, especially because of 70% of the Indonesia, it is an ocean. We are live in more in water than in land situation, because of 70% is water and just only 30% is land. And then number 15 is life on land. And then number 16 is peace, justice, and strong institution. And last but not least, number 17 is partnerships for the goals. That I think this is in line with our topics today, how that we do the successful collaborative partnerships to gain the quality of life. Next. This is that I try to just focus about the what that we call it, the stakeholder or issues if we talk about the smart cities and smart villages. This is that I learned from my best friend, Prof. Suharno, and of course, the sources is from our Kominfo, the Minister of Information, that we have this, what that we call it, the 6 pillar of the smart village. Of course, we start first with the smart people. This is already mentioned before. And then the aim is very, very clear that how that we can achieve what that we call it, the smart livings. After we talk about these two things, the smart people and the smart living, now we have to check for details about what kind of things that we have to do to achieve this smart thing through the smart people. We have, to be frank, we need to be, or we need to be our government to be a smart government. So why that? I think now for Indonesian government, the digital transformation is very, very important. How to transform our government, central government and local government to be a smart government. And then, of course, we talk about the smart environments, we talk about smart mobility, and last but not least, it's smart economics. Because of now we are in the digital century, everything to be digital and have to be more efficient, have to be more productive. So for sure that we need the smart mobility to achieve our smart economics objective. Next. Okay, let's now start about the startup that is already mentioned by my best friend, Excellency Ambassador Rosan. If we talk about Indonesia, Indonesia is number 5 in terms of number of startups in the world. Indonesia sits in the 5th place regarding the number of startups on Earth, which is 2,305 based on startup ranking data. It's already mentioned before that unicorn in Indonesia have already increased by 4 to 8, but maybe now it's already 10. Yeah, so maybe one of the biggest of startup after US and other country. We are number 5. Indonesia is number 5 after United States of America. That's 69,500 and number 2 is India, 11,819, and then number 3 is United Kingdom, 6,025, and number 4 is Canada, 3,145, and then Indonesia. Why that the startup is very, very important, that we already mentioned before, we are in the digital century, that the objective is very, very clear. How that as soon as possible, we can achieve what that we call it the smart living through the, of course, number 1 is smart people, and then we talk about the smart economy, smart environment, and then the smart mobility. We already know and understand that if we talk about the startups compared to the conventional company and maybe giants conglomerate company, the difference between the startup and the giants conglomerates big company, that startup is matched with today's situations, that basically they have what we call it, they can act fast because of they're still very, very lean and very small in terms of size. That is very important today, how that somebody or institutions or company can act very, very fast, and then they are very agile. Yeah, this is, I think, is very important too, how to survive through this current situation. We have to be agile. Yeah, even the giant can collapse if they are not adapt or with the today's situation. Yeah. So I think that why that the government of Indonesia and some other country give more attention for startup. It's not only because of Indonesia. We are maybe one of the youngest country in the world in terms of average age. 44% of our population is below 25 years old. But I think I agree with the others and our government's opinions that startup is very, very important and very, very relevant, and it's a very good strategy as one of our locomotive to achieve what that we call it the smart living, to achieve what that we call it smart people, and of course how to make the situation is better, to decrease the poverty, etc., etc. Next. This is that more details data about Indonesia. Yeah, Indonesia is the 4th most populous country in the world. That's already mentioned. The population today maybe is already more than 273 million, with more than 50% of the population reside in Java. This is that already mentioned by Excellency Ambassador Rosan, why that our government decides to move our capital cities from Java to Kalimantan Islands, because of Java is more than 50% of the population reside in Java. This is not good for the distribution of economy. This is not good for better environment in the future, and of course the challenge will be higher in the future if the population still concentrate in Java. And then we are maybe the one of the consuming class with the size of the population of Australia today. Yeah, and then as already mentioned before, Indonesia have the characteristic as a young and dynamic people, that 44% of Indonesians population are aged under 25. So why that this is the sources data from the World Bank and IMF. So why that we our government is always said, people always said that Indonesia have what that we call is the bonus demography, because of 44% of Indonesian population are aged under 25, and then the average age of Indonesian population is below 30 years old, maybe one of the youngest in terms of average age country in the world. And then if we check more details, that Indonesia population that is still concentrated on Java Islands, yeah, and then if we talk about the Java Islands, it's just only the area of 7% of the Indonesian territory, yeah, and then the population growth rate is still around 1.25%, yeah. It is already slowing down from 2000 till 2010. At that time is around 1.5%. This is the detailed profile of the Indonesian population that we can see that why that Indonesia is one of the youngest in terms of average age population country in the world. Yes, if we see that what that we call it, this is my generation, and maybe our Excellency Ambassador generations too, the baby boomers generation. They are from 61 to 65 years old. That is just only 11.6% from the total population. Yeah, and then if we talk about the what that we call it the generation X population from 36 to 61 years old, it is almost 22%. And then if we talk about that now is one of the very popular what that we call it the Millennial Generation. Yeah, because of this is they are very active. They are spending all of their money. They want to go traveling. They want to buy everything. Yeah, the Millennial Generation is almost 28% of our population. And then this is what we call it the bonus demography generation. That what we call it the Gen Z generation, 16 to 26 years old. Yeah, and then last one is post generation Z population is around 11%. Yeah, from 6 to 16 years old. This is what we call it that why that Indonesia is have a bonus generations country because of the average age is still below 30 years old, and then 44% of our population is below 25 years old. If we check the percentage of elderly population is just only 10%. Yeah, and then the sex ratio between males and females, 102 males and 100 females. This is the sources from BPS, our statistic bureau institution. I think this is the what that I want to share this morning as a first presentations to be a background about Indonesia, especially about the G20 presidency of Indonesia. So we have a lot of homework to achieve our target, especially how to achieve Indonesia and transform in 2030 and of course 2045. What that we call it the Indonesian Emas. Indonesia Emas is Golden Indonesia is 100 years independence of Indonesia in 2045. That our target is to make Indonesia is better, of course, than today from the prosperity point of view. And then, of course, we already are in the situations to achieve the smart living, smart people, smart government, smart mobility, smart environment, and last but not least, smart economy. This is that I think my presentations this morning hopefully can give as a background of our discussion today. Thank you. Arigatou gozaimasu. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Gramsha, for the presentation. We'll be moving on to the next speakers by Dr. Anpuzi Venkatachalam, as the Director of the Research Strategy and Innovation of the REA. And the presentation topic is also about the importance of the collaborating to support economic recovery. For the Dr. Anpuzi, the floor is yours.
You have to unmute, sir. Please unmute.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you, and good morning to all of our excellencies and fellow panelists and also participants. Today, actually, that is I appreciate Professor Sugano and organizing this webinar on the international collaboration for the quality of life and development. this is a very timely topic, given the fact that is the discussions within the G20 is maturing enough to find the pathways for our future of world economy, and as well as the quality of life for the people. What I wanted to do in this 10 minutes intervention is to give a kind of a glance of what type of economic recovery that is this at a global level, at the regional level, we are facing it, and we are witnessing it. And second thing is how this approach of the smart city could be enhanced by collaborating and by cooperating. And the smart city is a kind of one of these optimized solutions towards the inclusive and sustainable growth. First, if you see that is how our economies are recovering, and we know that is this the recovery happens whenever there is a shock, and this magnitude of the shocks differs, and these shocks are not kind of a new things. And if you're coming to this part of the world, Asia, and we do have the 90 financial crisis, and then we have the global financial crisis and the pandemic. But this pandemic is quite different, and its impact on this economy is quite different. It is an complete economy-wide, and we know that is in the first year of the pandemic, we have closed down, and it has an impact on the manufacturing, constructing, and servicing sectors. So still, we are facing this impacts, that is the increased inflation and rising the inequalities in the countries, and as well as across the countries. But this pandemic also has a kind of blessing in disguise. And if you look into these, the first 4 months of the pandemic, when the economy was closed down and the lockdowns, of course, these lockdowns has an impact on the economy. That is, here you can have a kind of negative correlation between the mobilities and this also change in the GDP. But if you look into this quality of life, and this is a blessing really. And if you look into the mega cities like Bangkok and Beijing and Delhi, we say that is the quality of air quality has improved drastically. And if this projections has been say that and by 2030 we will be living in a very beautiful and very green cities. And but this is what happened during the pandemic. But now these economies are moving back. And yes, we have been witnessing in Jakarta and Indonesia and in the ASEAN, and starting from early last year, and we are coming back. One of these indicators is how much this exports. The exports are gaining, and if you see there is in Indonesia, it is almost close to the normal previously pre-pandemic year. But at the same time, this carbon emissions also coming up, and we are coming back to the normal. And 2020 is the one of the year we witness the least emissions at the global level, but it is coming back. And most of these emissions are coming from the cities. Nearly 70% of these carbon emissions are coming from the cities. So what is the pathway that is we have? And today we have seen this opening remarks from ambassador to US and Japan and Singapore, which could be considered as an advanced economy. And if you compare to Indonesia, and there is a different pathway. And these advanced economies took a very, very carbon intensive or kind of environmentally damaging and a pathway. And then it is coming back to this a sustainable and a green economic pathway. So the cost is very high. And this pandemic has provided an opportunities for the developing and developing economies to find a new path to going back to this building a future that is a green and inclusive. And before the pandemic, if you see that is a quality and almost all the countries, almost all the cities, the inequality is the main challenge. And second thing is deteriorating quality of life. So here, whether we have an opportunity and whether we utilize the opportunity. This is a kind of a mapping of what happened during the pandemic period and from the 2020 May to July 2021. What type of policy instruments the countries, particularly this is more focusing on the ASEAN and East Asia, and this is some of the policies. I think most of the countries introduced the stimulus packages. That is mainly to retrieve and these stimulate the supply side and the demand side patterns. And another set of policies are the tax reforms, and that has been introduced. And here we can plot these policy initiatives, and between these two axes, and which is the green growth, are the policies that is supporting this health and the economic recovery. And here we find a mosaic of the policies. But one thing that is we can see that is this during this period, and we calculated and we estimated that is the most of the FDIs coming into this region, including Indonesia, and is more basically it facilitated the digitalization or the smartization and basically this COVID pandemic has pushed this digitalization to each and every corner of the economy. That is what we witnessed. And if you look into this greenness of these stimulus packages, these policy packages are quite different from the 2008 crisis. 2008 crisis, more spending on the green, but here we found more spending on the introduction of the digital technologies, digital services, and creating the digital platforms. And here, if you look into this ASEAN also created a kind of economic recovery framework that include the components. That is the component 5 is more about the sustainable recovery and sustainable development, and the component 3 is more focusing on the utilization of the digital technologies. So there is a consensus about tapping the benefits of the digitalization and focusing more towards the sustainable and inclusive societies. So in this regard, and here we found and cities are very important, and when we're thinking about the future, and there is a young population that is living in the cities, and at the same time, cities are also source of challenges, and basically it is a kind of meeting point of solutions and the challenges. 70% of the global GDP will be generated from the cities. At the same time, we do have the challenges of inequality, traffic congestion, pollutions, and then other social infrastructure problems. So how the cities and how they will in the future, how the most of this quality of the growth and this economic recovery very much depends upon the how much we are concentration on the cities, because the cities this is the source of solution to provide the social cohesion and the environmental sustainability. So we have a concept of priority action areas like energy and the environment and the transformation. Here where that is the role of the G20 comes the 3 priority areas which has the socio-economic benefits. So this regard, and there is a kind of collaborative network is already happening, and Singapore, and in 2018 when Singapore, which is one of the beneficiary of this smartization or the smart cities, smart nation. It is the first country to introduce the concept of the smart nation. And in 2018, it took the leadership and introduced this ASEAN Smart City Network, which is the basically which aims for application of these ICT technologies for the improvement of the quality of the life. And as of now, there are 26 countries in the region has joined the network to develop a kind of a common platform for sharing their knowledge, experiences, and increasing the investments. And here, if you look into that's what's happening in this smart cities is a kind of a collaborative platform that is happening. And most of the cities, as a part of these ASEAN smart cities, they are pioneering in this introduction of these digital tools to improve the service delivery in the energy sector, water sector, and also solid waste management that will result in the improvement of the quality of life. And if you look into that city, for example, Kuala Lumpur and Da Nang in Vietnam, and also Clark City in Philippines, basically there is a kind of a public and private partnership. The central government and the city government and an ICT service provider, and they come together in meeting the goals for the smart cities and also in designing the end outcome of these smart city approaches to improve the quality of the environment and the quality of the governance systems, as well as the quality of living infrastructure. So this collaboration is very much important. And one of the benefit, and we did a kind of analysis, and we applied this model of this smart technologies. In particularly in improving the carbon emissions. And here we find by applying these selected 10 technologies, the smart technologies, the digital technologies, and the data platforms, we found we can reduce these greenhouse gas emissions by 17%. And it has a co-benefit of reducing the energy consumption by 4 to 7%. That means that is resulted in the monetary benefits. And also the time saved, and it's about 28%. And this phenomenon is not only as a city specific, and the same examples and same benefits we can see that is how Singapore is witnessing it. And also, for example, in the Malaysia, basically this introduction of the sharing platforms, the application of the digital technologies has basically provided the rights, and basically they change this emission pattern, but also improve this access to these technologies. And Indonesia, I think we hear that is now they completely change these models. So these models are basically destructive innovations. That bring that benefits to the consumers and as well as the benefits to the environment. So this is my last slide, and which is coming back to this cooperative framework, and here that is this economic recovery is happening up, and but it is not on the expected lines. So there are a lot of uncertainties, lot of unknowns. So it is the responsibility of us to think about it and to develop a market conditions and also build a better future, not going back to this old normal of living in a polluted cities and where there is the inequality is very high. So here the smart city offers an opportunity to build a better future, but that need a collaboration and partnership. We need a collaboration between the public sector and the private sector to develop a common framework. That means we need a standards and we need to set the targets where the smart cities go on. Second thing is we need to identify the net benefits and the barriers. Here also we need to develop a very platforms to reduce the cost of this implementation of these smart technologies that need common targets and the policy gaps, and as well as meeting the operational objectives of the smart cities, which is nothing but inclusive and sustainable growth. Once again, I stop here and I'll come back for the other questions if any. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Anmuzi, for the presentation. We'll be moving on to the next speakers by Mr. Irfan Yasni, CEO of Technology Advisory and Business in Masland, to talk about the BSD as a global lifestyle developer instead of just local city developer. For the Mr. Irfan Yasni, the floor is yours. For the Mr. Irfan, you may have the floor.
Okay, good morning. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Here I would like to share what Sierra Masland has been doing in regard to transform one of our masterpiece project, which is BSD City, to become a real smart integrated digital city by doing the collaboration with many global prominent technology and digital players around the globe. For those who might not familiar with Sierra Masland, we are a property arm of Sierra Mas Group, and currently we have some portfolio across the globe from Indonesia, Malaysia, United Kingdom, China, Australia, and recently USA. However, our biggest footprint still in the greater of Jakarta area. In terms of collaboration and with multinational property players, we have started the journey more than a decade ago, where we established some JV partnership with some global and regional players such as Sojitz and Itochu from Japan in building some prominent industrial estate in the east side of Jakarta, with Aeon Mall, where we established the first Aeon Mall in Indonesia in BSD City, with Mitsubishi, Mitbana, and Hong Kong Land for the residential property, and with Joint, which is a Japanese consortium company, for a high-end shopping center in the center of Jakarta area, and last with Sumitomo for the mixed-use development project. Now let's go to the BSD City. BSD City is one of our masterpiece project. It is located in the southwest of Jakarta, around 30 minutes from the international airport, and reachable from Jakarta through multimode. You can go to BSD City from Jakarta by accessing two toll roads, and you can go by train as well, because there's one direct train railway from Jakarta to BSD. With a total area of approximately 6,000 hectares, which is the half size of Paris, or we can call it is 1/10 of Singapore, BSD is the most ambitious urban planning scheme in Indonesia to combine housing, business, and commercial project. The development of BSD City has been started since more than 40. It started more than 30 years ago, and it is divided by 3 phases, which is the first phase, which we call it the East BSD, the second phase, which is a Central BSD, in total to around 2,000 hectares, and then the last one will be the phase 3, which is West BSD. Within the BSD itself, we have about 800 hectares designed and developed as a central business district. One of the key strengths of the uniqueness of the BSD is our holistic and vibrant communities. We are currently the house of the more than 150,000 residents, with additional more than 300,000 business owners and student visitors. We have a variety of the education places across BSD, started from the elementary school until university, including some vocational school. There are more than 160,000 total students. BSD also is the preferred area for some companies' headquarters or offices. Companies such as Unilever Indonesia, Traveloka chose BSD to become the headquarters. Traveloka is one of the unicorn of Indonesia. There are more than 10,000 workers across 5 offices building in our Green Office Park districts. This is the first and the only green office district, which is in Indonesia and certified by BCA Green Mark of Singapore and certified by GBCI Indonesia as well. Besides the place to live, learn, work, and work, BSD also is a good place. It's a great place to play, yeah, because we have some have amusement destination place within BSD city, including shopping malls, where we have more than 18 million visitors annually. If we combine our shopping malls visitors annually. BSC, in terms of smart city, BSC has embarked into the journey to become a real integrated smart digital city since 2017. Yeah, with the current smart city platform established such as fiber optic, as a third utilities, beside water and electricity, the command center, surveillance system, community apps. Yeah, we call it the One Small BSC City. It is available. You can download it in the Google Play, both in the Google Play or Apple Store. We do provide the free public Wi-Fi, the high-speed Wi-Fi, the first 1 GB Wi-Fi back then in 2017. Yeah, and then we have established an automatic traffic control system, the public cloud, and recently is an autonomous vehicle, a small bus without the driver in BSD. Yeah, all those platforms are powered by global and prominent technology players, such as Huawei from China, NEC, Mitsubishi, NTT from Japan, Juniper and Cisco from USA, and many more. Okay, beside the physical infrastructure, BSC also trusted by the global and the local digital and creative industry to be their home base. Yeah, Apple established their Apple Academy as the first academy in Indonesia and the third in the world in BSD. Company like NTT moved their IT Association Center from one country to BSD City. Yeah, multinational technology and digital companies such as Juniper and Money Public also access in BSD. Even Monash University from Australia is also established their remote campus in BSD, the first and the only in Indonesia. The best yet is yet to come, and an unrivaled digital ecosystem and lifestyle development powered by a world-leading expert, which soon will be our near future. Okay, with G42 as Smart Nation, one of the global AI and machine learning prominent players from United Arab Emirates, BSD, with the uniqueness of having a holistic and vibrant community, so BSD is a perfect place for digital testbed, or people call it the living lab. We together with G42, we will build a country biggest AI use case, or we call it the intellectual properties for several sectors, starting from government, healthcare, finance, sports, smart cities, and energy. As we speak, we are currently in the preparation of the building new IPs for smart security issue detection and holistic traffic optimization. Some new IPs are targeted to establish by end of this year. Last but not least, BSD and Microsoft are currently in the agreement and collaboratively transforming BSD City from just being a city developer to become a digital and lifestyle development center. Started with the modern and secure digital foundation, there are 3 more missions to be established and executed. The first one, spearhead digital talents, democratize innovation across Indonesia land through a citizen developer platform, and to ensure a sustainable digital future through programmatic skilling approach. We're going to expand digital talents empowerment beyond just Indonesia land to drive positive impact across the community and to Indonesia as well, for sure. In addition, is to establish the Microsoft Digital Academy, yeah, for gaming, for coding, those kind of things, which aims to deepen technical capabilities with the programs that are geared towards advanced and deep in-depth training. Yeah. Number 2, on the drive business innovation, driving the innovation across both core properties, yeah, business and new lifestyle experience by accelerating the creation and scaling of new digital capabilities built on a common digital platform and leveraging the power of data science. There are some strategic activities that we are going to do, such as building smart city operating system, specifically in the area of the city command center and control, which is targeted to be the first in the world for the operating system for the operating system itself. And the second one, be a lifestyle provider. How to do it? We're gonna enhance our existing community apps, where I mentioned earlier, which is One Smart BSC City, to be the super apps. We will enhance it and integrate it with some Microsoft ecosystems such as Grab, Crayon, WSO2, and etc. And last one, we would like to use BSC City as our living lab or test bed for the quantum technology, for the quantum material technology, such as how to change the physical and chemical composition of the existing material to improve our property development. And the last one, which is the last mission, which is to be the champion of sustainability, demonstrated continued leadership in sustainability by successfully targeting ambitious, impactful net zero and carbon reduction through technology and innovation. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
All right. Thank you for Mr. Ivan Yasni for the presentation. We will be moving on to the next speakers by Mr. Jones Myers as a chair of the Smart Cities for the IEIUT initiative. And the presentation will be discussed about the successful collaborative partnership to gain quality of life. For the Mr. Jones Myers, the floor is yours. Are you still unmuted, sir? All right.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay, so thank you. So I'll just start again. Thank you so much for inviting me to this most prestigious session on the G20 T20. Your Excellencies, Professor Sahono, we continue to collaborate very, very strongly together, and congratulations on a lot of the very, very interesting and important projects that I hear that are coming out all the time from Indonesia itself. I'd like just to give you a little overview of IEEE to begin with, and some of the work that we do within the realm of smart cities. We've been discussing, the various prestigious speakers have been discussing COVID and economic recovery from COVID. Well, already, we know from the world that we live in that over 50% of the world's population lives in cities today. And that number is growing. It's growing exponentially. And by 2050, the UN projects that over 2/3 of the world will live in cities. And during COVID, I think that the majority of us had a bit of a wake-up call. We realized how critical cities are to the way in which we live, the quality of life, and the fact that there are issues that we need to address quickly in order to ensure that we have a sustainable and resilient city that supports us, and that communities and our personal growth is supported in that, especially with discussions like connectivity. Under lockdown, one of the big things was we weren't able to connect in the same way, and technology obviously helped. Today we're using Zoom to be able to speak to each other, and that was one of the platforms that allowed people to speak, families, friends, and professionally. But that's not the same for everybody. And one of the things that we're looking at very, very strongly under IEEE is the fact that we need to grow together globally. And there are cities that are flying. In Asia, especially, and in Indonesia, you have some great examples of cities that are flying in digital transformation. But that's not the same everywhere. And so we need to be able to work together to allow other cities and countries around the world to catch up as well on a digital equality side. So this is very much what IEEE is about. I'll just give a few flavors. It's a huge non-profit organization. It covers over 160 countries, almost 500,000 members from around the world. Most of them are keen technologists, professionals, experts in all sorts of technology that surrounds us. And we have thousands of branches and sections across the world that meet up, whether it's virtually in today's world or physically, if possible, face-to-face, in thousands of events in order to talk about technology. But one of the big things that we do are standards. And we're not the only STO, we're not the only standards development organization out there, but we're one of the big ones in technology. And we work alongside others like ITU, ISO, IEC, etc. But standards are extremely important when we're discussing things like sustainability, because without standards, what has tended to happen with technology is that it's thrown into cities in very much a silos-based systems. And what happens is that you end up spending a lot of money, spending a lot of time, organizing platforms and protocols of communication where not necessarily data across different departments, different disciplines works well together. And that leads to inefficiency, because in the end, what you want to be able to do is to share your data across lots of different areas in the city where decisions are being made. We know that if we dig up a street, for example, below the street, you have lots of different types of technologies going on, whether it's power and energy or telecommunications. You have discussions of water or waste. Our cities are extremely complicated, complex environments. And in order to best work with those environments, in order to be able to help leaders and stakeholders that are responsible for organizing our cities on a daily basis and gathering a deluge of urban data that now exists, standards are in place. And just within smart cities, IEEE have developed over 78 different standards. And they're not all just about technology. Some of them, for example, over the last few years, we've been working on discussions, for example, in security and ethics, because part of what we need to do as well is to work closely with communities and ensure the safeguarding also of our way of life, so that technology works well with us and actually enhances our life rather than taking over. But you can see from this slide that the different areas in which standards are already having an incredible effect. And as I say, it goes from transport to cybersecurity, e-governance, power and energy, such as smart grids, and so on. So that's one of our main roles as a society on a global scale. We also have a Global Cities Alliance. Over the last 3 years, we've worked very, very closely with cities across the world to try to understand exactly what their needs are, what the challenges are. We have an alliance of over 290 cities today. And we work closely with them, developing frameworks for smart city development, the roadmaps even for nations such as we're working with United Cities and local governments in Africa. As I said, best practices and standards, and developing lots of sort of events so that we can bring our technical expertise into partnerships and collaborations with local stakeholders so that they can best understand what's going on in technology and how to get the best out of technology, but also how to learn from a lot of the pain, because technology isn't always successful. But when it is successful, it can bring huge, huge advantages. So one of the main things within smart cities realm that we deal with is digital transformation. It's a game changer. We can see that over the last few decades, how important digital has become to society. And it's, if you talk to our children, they can't even imagine a world without it. But that transformation isn't always an easy one. There are cities and countries around the world that are at an advantage, perhaps those that haven't had legacy, so they don't have the issues of having to, look at platforms that not necessarily can be easily transformed into, what the state of the art is. But there are also countries and cities that haven't actually started on the digital transformation process. And it's just as important to be able to push the frontiers of technology forward as it is to ensure that there is nobody being left behind as well, that everybody has on our world surface the possibility to reap the rewards of a digital society. And for us, that means not just these goals, but we've been working, let's say, on these 5 goals. And the first one is affordable internet to ensure that everyone is connected, to a digital currency so that movement of currency is possible, core digital services, smart cities, and then digital twins. So I'll just go through very quickly those. As we were saying, we look at our planet and we just imagine that everybody is connected, that everybody has access to the internet. And unfortunately, that's not true. There are actually 3 billion, just over 3 billion people around the world that are not connected. And it's not in a specific and sole areas you can see from the map here. It's actually pretty well spread a lot of, around a lot of the different regions around the world. And during COVID, this was, really, really evident because during COVID, those that were lucky enough to have internet were able to be connected with friends and family, were able to smart work. They were able to get education, their kids could get education from home. But if you look at those that weren't connected, they were completely cut off from the rest of, what they were, trying to do in their personal growth or in their, their financial growth. So there were countries around the world, and just to name, one, Uganda, for example, that we're working very closely with at the moment on their last mile for infrastructure and giving connectivity to the local populations. They didn't have any education. They were not able to get to school, of course, and kids from around the world kids from Uganda did not have access to the internet. And I'm not saying all of them, but there was a largest majority that were not able to go to school. And that's 2 years of school, which we can imagine for anyone that is being slowed down by that amount, ends up being a very, very serious issue. And we have within IEEE and generally the world has a responsibility to ensure that that doesn't happen again. And as I said, this is not a small issue. This is almost 50% of the world that is unconnected. So the first thing is affordable internet. And a lot of that is actually an issue of last mile, because there are countries and cities around the world that are not well connected with their local populations, but they actually have very good fiber optic cabling. Unfortunately, that fiber optic cabling isn't connected to communities. It lacks the last mile to actually reach into homes, offices, shops. And we still need to do a lot of work to help those that don't have that access, don't have that coverage, or where the cost of that coverage of internet is between 20 and 40% of their monthly salary. I consider that very lucky. I spend about 1% of my salary every month on internet. If I had to spend 25%, then I probably wouldn't have internet. And that's what a lot of people are facing. Digital currency is also extremely important. It's changing the face of the way in which we do global transactions, but it also allows all sorts of transactions, whether they be commercial or government, public services transactions, to be able to move around freely, not just between local to a national level, so to be able to move currency across areas that allow you to no longer just work on a local level, but also to obviously to work on a global level. So some of these things seem very obvious to us. If we discuss e-commerce, it's obviously something that has been going on for many, many years, but not everybody is on track for that and actually has access to these types of technologies and tools. And also on a digital currency level, what we're trying to work on also is a local currency systems for providing rewards for spending locally and things like use of public transport to lower carbon footprint, use of cycling and cycling lanes. There are ways of using currency, and one of the projects that we're collaborating on is called the Huzi, and that project is already up and running in Guadalajara, where we have about a population of about 6 million people that are using this new local currency, which can only be spent locally, to enhance local spending and local businesses, where you get rewards for spending locally, where if you go to the recycling center, you get rewards. If you cycle and keep healthy, or you jog, you get rewards. So currency can be used not just for financial discussions, but also for creating social good. So all this leads to core services. IEEE is all about ensuring these core services. Before we even get to a smart city, we need to ensure that things like health and education, the economy, and also the impact of technology in community is getting through. Because these are the first steps able to support social well-being within cities. And then we can move on to, and it very much depends on where each city is, and not all of these areas of smart cities are key importance, but it very much depends on the type of city, and every city is completely different. So it's not always an easy path, but it's a path where you move through the various areas that provide enormous benefits. So things like smart agriculture are absolutely key. If we're going to be sustainable, we need to understand and work better with processes, logistics, understanding the best way to get food into urban areas. And so there are lots of different areas, whether it's power and energy or retail or home, where cities are having great benefit from technology, and where cities are also putting in place open data systems, so that the data that's used from and being gathered from one area to another is benefiting other areas in order to create a more intelligent system for the way in which cities have to provide all sorts of resources that are extremely limited. So a smart city system is, obviously what we are trying to achieve. And this sort of leads to digital twins, because over the last few years, there's been a lot of discussion about digital twins, and it's coming to the forefront. We've had actually, there have been lots of examples of basic digital twins where you have projects such as, building, you can see in the image, building cities using graphics so that you can, plan exactly what a city is going to look like before you actually put the building blocks together. So in urban planning, digital twins is quite a common thing. It's been around for quite a while. But the future of digital twins is going to be incredible. It's going to allow us to model cities, not just from the physical world, but also from the worlds that connect up in a city, that create all the correlations, things like social behavior, infrastructure on an engineering point of view, not just the architecture. We'll be looking at things like financial discussions, how to model a city from the financial aspects and budgeting. And to do that, we need a language. There are smart city ontologies languages out there, but they tend to be, mainly about terms and use of language for technology. So what we're trying to do with IEEE at the moment, we've started the Global Observatory for Urban Intelligence with ITU, and we're attacking the different areas that we need to attack in order to be able to build very powerful decision support systems, which will be based on digital models of cities. To do that, we're looking at the ontology. Okay, so we're not just discussing technology, but we're bringing in all of the languages that are used in cities that are outside of technology, but that need to work together with technology to understand, how to approach a challenge. So that language could come from architecture, it could come from engineering, it could come from social behavior, it could come from the legal and regulatory discussions and terms that are being used, finance and budgeting. So all these languages are being put together so that we can create a much stronger language, the smart city language, and then look at the correlations. How is each thing connected? Because what we tend to forget is that a city, being so complex, is extremely correlated. It has knock-on effects on everything. What one department does has an effect on another department. What one person in society does tends to have an effect on everyone else. And so everything that we do in a city has that interconnectivity. How do you model that? Now, that's what we're trying to achieve with the ontology. That's what we'll be doing with things like semantic web. And we're, over the next 2 years, building hubs around the world to be able to gather data and deliver the new generation of digital twins that will allow, as we were saying, very, very strong decision support systems to be placed in local government, to model in all sorts of ways cities in order to simulate strategies, simulate different types of projects and solutions that are being looked at, but not just from a physical aspect, but also from for example, the aspect of human interaction or connectivity or behavior. It allows us to monitor a city far better from all sorts of points of view. And hopefully it will allow us also to carry out stronger predictions and forecasting so that we can avoid certain issues. We may not be able to avoid a pandemic, but using digital twins, we can certainly, have the possibility to avoid a lot of the problems that would be associated with, the next pandemic. And unfortunately, we don't know, and we hope not. But we need to protect our cities if they are to be resilient and sustainable. So the Global Observatory is what we're putting together, and digital twins is a huge part of that. So that's it. I just wanted to thank everybody again for the opportunity. Collaboration that we're having with Professor Suhono in Indonesia is a wonderful opportunity for IEEE as well, and we look forward to a fantastic future.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Joel, for the presentation. We'll directly moving on to the next presentation by Mr. Adiwan Fahlan Aritenang as the SCCIC-ITB researcher to talk about the establishment of the G20 Smart World Living Lab, the Recover Together, Recover Stronger, and the Smarter for Improving Quality of Life. For the Mr. Adiwan, the floor is yours. Which welcome for Mr. Adiwan. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Okay. Good morning. Thank you for having me. Now I would like to continue our discussion with the initiative that the Smart City and Community Innovation Center has conducted, which is the World Living Lab, which we propose for the G20 activities with the title of Recover Together, Recover Stronger, Improving Quality of Life. So if we look at the background, there's so many issues right now, including the economy, poverty, healthcare, climate change, and other things. And this has been amplified by the pandemic also that we have faced in the last 2 years. However, there's also a problem where our technology seems to unsuccessfully contribute to what we expected earlier. And this needs a new approach for out-of-the-box solutions to accelerate the problems that we are facing currently. Now, among the failures that the technology has shown us, it's, for instance, only 5% of technology has succeeded, with more than 50% has failed to meet our expectation in building solutions and digital transformation. Some municipalities also has deployed electronic on-street vehicle, for instance, but the local authority has been not successful to operate it properly. Many of our research findings suggest that the implementing of digital payment in popular tourist areas has decreased locals' income by 20 to 40%. So this is like a two-sided of story on technology implementation. And about solutions that we have faced, for instance, there are non-technological issues. There's also stakeholder involvement, regulations, local wisdom, wide scoping, and also funding. So these problems that are required for us to face the problems that we are facing now. So as a result, we have proposed as a Living Lab as a new approach for a new implementation of technology. So the urgency, first, we need to have a measurable and sustainable implementation approach. This, I think, has not been deeply studied or implemented worldwide. And also there's a need to approach whose impact is directly felt by citizens. There's various of technologies, but very limited impact directly felt by the citizen. Maybe for research or maybe for companies, but not so much for the citizen. And also we need to have a communication system that allows stakeholders to share experiences and discuss regional development, both synchronously or asynchronously. So we look at this living lab as a new approach, which is a real world laboratory using real data to solve the problem based on co-creation by multi-stakeholders. To do this, we only focus on a certain location, very limited location with a very specific objective also. And this in the future, we could define it in a larger area with more complex issues and more larger objectives. However, we must start somehow. As a result, Living Lab is also a multi-stakeholder organization that are set up to carry out innovation projects that follow the principle of open and user innovation. Research also carried by small area by involving multi-stakeholders to solve problems in one area only, and this should be done sustainability. So here we focus on open innovation, user engagement, co-creation, multi-stakeholder participation, and also real-life environment. With that, we hope that this Living Lab could help us to understand what are the potential issues that we will face, what are the obstacles, and how could we tackle these obstacles. So, for instance, by looking at the architecture, we could see like what are the sensing tools that we need. We need, for instance, IoT sensors or CCTV, or maybe from social media. And then how to understand that is not only by analyzing using a platform, for instance, but we also need partnership. They are from the government, from the industry, academics, community, citizen. And with this partnership, we can make the data that we collected, the sensing that we collected, much more make sense using a lot of platforms such as safe and secure technology, smart mobility, or also small and medium digitalization for enterprise, environmental monitoring, and also smart health. And at the same time, we also need to have great citizen engagement and also governance. By understanding all of this, we could have reporting that are precisely showing us what are the issues at the local level and how do we notify that to our colleagues from other part of the sector, including partnerships. And are there any device control that we need also? And how do we put this as an input for our decision support system? So if we look at the activities that we will do, we started with a plan. So here we identify areas and measurements that are needed to identify problems and alternative solutions. And then we build a solution from some alternative solutions that are proposed in the first step. Then we run the Living Lab, and here we implement the selected solutions that we have defined earlier to solve problems in that specific area. And finally, we also do evaluation. Here, we evaluate and measure the result of the implementation. We may also expand the implementation after positive results and feedback. This is a very important part, I think, from the Living Lab. We also have consistent and also routine feedback from the activities that we do. So it's quite different with other activities where we only see or we collect the data and then we go analyze it in some other places. But here in Living Lab, we never leave them. In the sense, we get the data from them, we analyze them, and then we evaluate them. And if there's new feedback, either negative or positive, we throw back again to the Living Lab. And this process goes on and on and on. So this will increase our understanding and also our capacity to complete the understanding on the problem, both area or the objective much better. So here the policies that we propose is first to promote the G20 Smart World Living Lab as an approach to solve problems in a small and manageable area. Second, we recommend a multi-stakeholder partnership to establish a living lab to make sure that all stakeholders are involved. And third, we also recommend there's a network hub for small world living lab. So by doing living lab in various locations, we expect there are more learning from best practices that are important for us. This is very important because we could not learn from one specific area with one specific problem, but by learning from other locations, then we can generalize it, maybe have some more conclusion and research finding that are important to solve the problems. So one example is the area that we are planning to do, which is near to our campus in Bandung. The areas that Dago, Dipati Ukur, and Ganesha. Here, the activities include education, economic activity of micro, small, and medium enterprises, health activities, safe and secure environment and energy, and also high mobility. So here is our campus, the Bandung Institute of Technology, and the green line here are the roads that are analyzed in our living lab. Dago, Dipati Ukur, and also Ganesha. The problems that we would like to address is economic and also society and environment. The objective is to improve the economy by optimizing digital economy to small medium enterprise, improving the society well-being, including their mobility, health, and security. And also we meet the needs of infrastructure, including waste, water, and energy management. The living lab activities that we propose include a smart city platform, digitizing small, medium enterprise, including the promotion, payment system, and other things, waste, water, and energy management system, telemedicine, smart parking, safe and secure, and also digital literacy and stakeholder engagement. And to continue our discussion earlier, we also provide partnership here. For instance, the digitizing of small medium enterprise will be led by our partner industry, smart parking by our partner from the government, digital literacy by us and also by the government. While stakeholder engagement, we also include the local community and academic sector. And this is an example that we try to collect the data by using indicators. So this is in Indonesia, but I can translate it for you. So for instance, in the terms of economy, the first indicator is to look at how many percentage of services that are open data. And here we have information that how many business owners that have provided their data to the city services. And this will be in the number of percentage of the whole business owners, for instance. While in the education, for example, we would like to look at on the percentage of the population that has more than one one's language skill. So besides Indonesian or maybe besides their local language. So we would like to see this because the capacity to learn or to have to speak more than one language could improve their possibility for employment and also communication with other communities. And this would also be in percentage. So this is the examples of on how we will get the base data to look at the areas that we are using as a living lab. So that's all from me. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Adiwan, for the presentation. We'll be directly moving on to the last presentation by Professor Toshio Obi as Director of APEC, a Digital Government Research Center Professor Emeritus by Waseda University. And the presentations will be discussed regarding digital initiative to achieve a better quality of life in a smarter world. For the Mr. Professor Toshio Obi, the floor is yours.
My name is Toshio Obi, Director, APEC Digital Government Research Center, and also Professor Emeritus, Waseda University, Tokyo, Japan. Thank you very much for inviting me as a speaker to this very important event. My title is Digital Initiative to Achieve a Better Quality of Life in a Smarter World. Let me introduce myself with very brief CVs. As I said, I'm working for APEC and Waseda universities. Besides that, I used to be a special envoy of United Nations ITU Secretary Generals for academia. And in Japan, I chair National E-Government Promotion Council. And globally honorary president, International Academy of CIO. And I have some experiences in meeting scholars to Columbia University, US, Peking University, China, Thammasat University, Thailand. And there are several awards. For example, Japanese Minister's Distinguished Award in 2013 and 2015, twice. ICT Leadership Award by ISC, International Academy CIO, and Emperor's Medals with dark blue ribbons. Also, I have very good record, which can be proud that recognition on world most influential 100 people on digital government by a British think tank. And there are 31 books and so on. My experiences for international activities since this forum related to quality life with international dimension. I'm a co-chair of the T20 Indonesia TA2 Digital Technology Group and director of APEC project and co-chair of Japan-China Science and Technology Forum and ISC honorary president. And in the past, I have been co-chair of OECD Task Force on Digital Economy and ITU Special Envoy, UNESCO Chair on University Education on Environment, co-chair Japan EU on Science and Innovation, and UN Expert Group on Digital Inclusion. I show two of my project, which is related to quality of life, also international corporations. One is the APEC project called the extension of APEC Digital Government Research Center since 2013, and APEC sponsor economy, Japan. And co-sponsoring economies are Singapore, Thailand, Chinese Taipei, USA, Indonesia, Philippines, and China. Another project is the United Nations SDGs. Waseda universities and United Nations CST with Japanese government organizing a workshop every year at United Nations headquarters in New York on the SDGs to 2030s. And title of the workshop different from each year, and smart city and data against COVID-19 and so on. We invited so many speakers all over the world. And talking about the role of emergence technologies for better quality of life, I show 6 ICT drivers to shape the future task force, namely 5G, AI, IoT, big data, digital twin, and blockchain. And also there is rise in smart devices and systems, and advanced in computational systems such as sensors and processing power. Of course, there are some new multimedia technologies and continuing evolution of social media. And I put the emphasis on globally connected world 5G mobile applications for better quality of life. Another example is the issue of the disaster and risk management. Disaster destroys the quality of life, and we need the digital inclusion against these risks. In Japan, we have very interesting data. 3/4 of the victims of the disaster is aging people. Also, 40% of the disabilities is older persons in our societies. Therefore, SDGs of United Nations priorities might be innovative ICT solutions for disaster and people with special needs. There are 5 issues in my perspectives on quality life. All of them are lack of something. First one is the funding and capitals. Second, technology and digital. Third, human resource development, HRD, and IT leaders. Fourth, PPP, public and partners, public and private and partnership. And the last one is a coordination of 4 issues which are lack for the improvement of the quality of life. And last slide showing 4 recommendations. One is cooperation with PPP, which I mentioned, plus academia and civil societies. Second recommendation might be comprehensive convergence between technology and societies. Technology has developed, progressed very rapidly, but the people, especially aging people, left behind. So we need harmonizations between technology and societies. Third one is digital innovation for smart society. Innovation is a key for better life. And also smart society is a really engine for QOL in the world. Last one, other recommendation is we need the test bed for QOL from smart home to smart city. And in that regard, SCCIC Living Lab at Institute of London Technologies will be the best choice. And I hope we can recommend G20 to make better quality of life in international corporations and ITV might play important role of the realizations. Thank you very much. And digital innovation for all from Tokyo, Japan.
Thank you, Professor Toshiobi, for the presentation. All distinguished participants and distinguished speakers, we are successfully done with all the presentation session. And we will move on to the photo session. But before we take in the photo session, the committee would like to remind the participant to attend to pushing the attendance link by the comment section by below in the private Zoom. That will be to record the attendance link in the chat box in the Zoom meeting. So, distinguished participants and distinguished speakers, I would like to welcome you to open your camera because we will having a photo session after this. All right. Everyone, please turn on your camera. We would like to having a photo session for Mr. Adiwan, Mr. Teguh, Mr. Aldo, Wishu, Mr. Idam, all participants. Wish you welcome to open your camera. All right. The committee will capture on the photo session for the first slide. 3, 2, 1. Next slide. 3, 2, 1. And next slide. 3, 2, 1. All right. We'll be having the last session. Okay. I think we are good for now. Thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure being with you all today. We have come to the end of our session for today, and I would like to thank everyone who made this session possible. Thank you for the committee, and I greatly thank for our speaker for 2 days, and thank you for sharing insight for experience. And last but not least, we also thank you for our sponsor, Digital Hoop, Sinar Maslen, Icon Plus for our sponsor, and for Batik Kominfo and also Layanan Cerdas Indonesia for supporting this event. And thank you all once again for coming, and we will see you at the next session of the Go Smart series. And have a great day and stay safe, everyone. Thank you.
Recording stopped.